gambled and chased women and drank some more. And he managed to do all of it while still finishing with the fourth highest career batting average in MLB history.
Did you know that one of baseball's earliest legends, Big Ed Delahanty, met a mysterious and tragic end at just 35? Imagine this, a powerhouse hitter, celebrated for his strength and skill, gone far too soon under circumstances that still leave people puzzled. Some say he stumbled into the Niagara River, others believe he was swept over the falls, but no one knows exactly what happened. Before we dive in any further, please subscribe to the channel. Ever heard of baseball's most haunting mystery, the tragic end of Big Ed Delahanty? His death in July 1903 is still one of sports history's darkest unsolved tales. Here's how it went down. It was a summer night, and Delahanty, one of baseball's first true power hitters, was on a train headed from Detroit to New York. He'd had a rough evening, downing 5 whiskeys and getting more and more unruly as the night went on. By the time he started waving a straight razor and threatening passengers, the conductor had had enough. The train stopped on the International Railway Bridge, which spans Buffalo, New York, to Fort Erie, Canada, and they kicked Delahanty off. That's where things take an eerie turn. Alone, possibly intoxicated, he began to cross the bridge. Witnesses say he was shouting about death as he walked along the dark, narrow path high above the river. Then he vanished. No one saw what happened next. Did he slip and fall? Did he jump? By the time anyone could search, it was too late. 2 weeks later, Delahanty's body was found at the bottom of Niagara Falls, a chilling and tragic end to one of baseball's brightest stars. The mystery only deepens. Some say it was a tragic accident, others suggest he chose to jump, weighed down by personal troubles, and some even claim foul play. Witnesses reported a shadowy figure tailing Delahanty earlier that night. Was he robbed? Maybe even murdered? Historian Mike Sowell explored every detail of that night in his book, July 2nd, 1903, The Mysterious Death of Big Ed Delahanty, examining the tangled web of rumors and strange accounts. Did Delahanty stumble, lose his balance, or was he pushed? To this day, no one truly knows what happened to Big Ed on that dark bridge above the roaring Niagara. What we do know is his death cast a long-lasting shadow over baseball, leaving us with one of the sport's most chilling mysteries. Imagine growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, with an undeniable knack for baseball that would take you all the way to the big leagues, and not just as any player, but as one of the game's earliest legends. That's the story of Ed Delahanty. Big Ed, as he'd later be known, was born in Cleveland, and while he may have gone to Central High School and even spent some time at St. Joseph's College, his heart was always on the baseball diamond. Early on, he played for the Cleveland Shamrocks, a local semi-pro team, where his skills as a right-handed hitter started catching serious attention. With a swing that could send the ball flying, it didn't take long for people to realize Ed wasn't just any ball player, he was something special. By 1887, Ed had outgrown the local leagues and took his first step toward professional baseball, signing with the Mansfield team in the Ohio State League. And that same year, recognizing his talent, the team decided to bump him up to the minor leagues. He joined a club in Wheeling, West Virginia, where he'd put his power-hitting ability on full display, impressing everyone who saw him at bat. Scouts and fans alike couldn't take their eyes off him, and soon, bigger teams started taking notice. One of those bigger teams was none other than the Philadelphia Phillies. They were so sure of Delahanty's potential that they paid $900, a significant sum back in the late 1880s, to secure his contract before the 1888 season. This was his entry into the major leagues and the beginning of what would become an unforgettable career. Through the 1890s, Delahanty became a force to be reckoned with in Philadelphia. Playing as an outfielder for the Phillies, he quickly earned a reputation as one of the most powerful hitters in the league. Back then, the game wasn't full of home run hitters like today. In fact, the long ball was rare, but Delahanty, he made it his signature. Pitchers dreaded facing him because they knew that one wrong pitch could turn the game in a second. Fans flocked to see his power at the plate. He could change the energy of the entire stadium with a single swing. Ed Delahanty didn't just play baseball, he electrified it. He set the standard for future generations of power hitters, blazing a trail for the home run sluggers who'd follow in his footsteps. His impact went far beyond his stats. He inspired an era, proving that raw power and skill could define a player. So the next time you hear the term power hitter, remember Big Ed, the Cleveland kid who took baseball by storm and became one of the game's earliest legends. When the Philadelphia Phillies signed Ed Delahanty in 1888, they had big shoes to fill. They were still mourning the tragic loss of Charlie Ferguson, and Delahanty, with his powerful bat and immense promise, seemed like the perfect replacement. On May 22, 1888, he stepped onto the field for his first National League game, kicking off a journey that would see him play 74 games that season. Now, his debut season was a bit of a mixed bag. Delahanty batted a modest .228 with just 1 home run and 31 RBIs. But those numbers didn't quite tell the full story. The potential he showcased was undeniable. By his second season, he really started to hit his stride, raising his batting average to an impressive 293 over 56 games. You could feel the excitement building around him. In 1890, Delahanty took a bit of a detour when he signed with the newly formed Players League, a league that aimed to be run by the players themselves. It was an ambitious idea, but unfortunately, it collapsed after just one season. No worries for Ed, though he returned to the Phillies the following year, and this time, he was stepping into the role of starting left fielder. This was a position that allowed his natural power and agility to really shine. But let's be real, while Delahanty was a phenomenal player, his off-field behavior sometimes stole the spotlight. He had a notorious weakness for alcohol, which occasionally affected his performance. Yet when he was on his game, he was simply unstoppable. Just take a look at his standout season in 1892, when he hit an impressive .306 with 6 home runs and 91 RBIs. Those numbers not only made him one of the most exciting hitters in the league, but also solidified his status as a force to be reckoned with. One game that season became the stuff of legend. Picture this: St. Louis infielder George Pinckney, confident that Delahanty was about to lay down a bunt, charged in from third base, ready to snatch the ball. But in a split second, Delahanty swung hard instead. The ball rocketed off his bat with such force that it caught Pinckney completely off guard, ultimately breaking his ankle. Witnesses described the impact as if the ball had been shot from a cannon. Talk about a wake-up call. As Delahanty's legend grew, so did his reputation as one of baseball's most fearsome hitters. Despite his personal challenges, he continued to push forward, determined to make a name for himself in the sport. His story is a testament to resilience, proving that, even amidst struggles, greatness can shine through. So when you think about the history of baseball and its legendary hitters, remember Ed Delahanty, the man who not only filled a void, but also made an unforgettable mark in the game, leaving fans and players alike in awe of his power at the plate. Imagine this. It's July during the baseball season, and Delahanty is about to find himself at the center of one of the most bizarre incidents in baseball history, an event that would later be dubbed the most shameful home run of all time by authors Bruce Nash and Alan Zullo. It all went down during a game between Delahanty's Philadelphia Phillies and the Chicago White Stockings at the Huntington Street grounds. Now, this ballpark had its quirks, and one of the oddest features was what players referred to as the doghouse. It wasn't a kennel for stray pups, but rather a small storage area for the numbers of the manual scoreboard. It was one of those things you'd probably overlook until it became the scene of a jaw-dropping moment. So there's Cap Anson, one of the best hitters for the White Stockings, who launches a fly ball deep into center field. Delahanty races to make the catch, but then, bam, the ball takes a strange bounce, hits a pole, and plops right into the infamous doghouse. Talk about bad luck. Now Delahanty, determined not to let Anson get extra bases, tries to reach over the edge of the doghouse to snag the ball, but it's just out of his grasp. With no other choice, he decides to crawl into this cramped space, thinking he can grab it from inside. But here's where things go hilariously wrong. Delahanty gets stuck. He's wedged in there, arms outstretched but unable to retrieve the ball, while Anson is sprinting around the bases like a cheetah on a mission. The crowd is roaring with excitement as they watch this unusual play unfold. Meanwhile, Delahanty's teammate, Sam Thompson, realizes what's happening and rushes over to help. Imagine the scene. Delahanty struggling in the doghouse, while Thompson is tugging and pulling to get him free. It's like a scene out of a slapstick comedy. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity, Delahanty wriggles out and finally gets his hands on the ball. But by then, it's too late. Anson has already crossed home plate, scoring one of the strangest home runs in baseball history. The whole stadium is in disbelief. You can just picture the mix of laughter and shock in the stands as the play becomes an instant legend. Delahanty's misfortune in the doghouse is remembered not just as a moment of embarrassment, but as a quintessential part of baseball lore. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the game can throw the most unexpected and downright ridiculous curveballs at you. So the next time you hear someone talk about strange moments in sports, you can bring up Ed Delahanty and the infamous doghouse incident. It's a perfect example of how unpredictable and wild baseball can be, keeping fans on their toes and ensuring there's never a dull moment. In 1893, Ed Delahanty truly solidified his place among baseball's elite hitters. That season, he posted an astounding .368 batting average, blasted 19 home runs, and racked up 146 RBIs. He was a force to be reckoned reckoned with at the plate, demonstrating an incredible ability to hit and drive in runs. It was a standout year for him, and he came heartbreakingly close to winning the coveted Triple Crown, a feat that eludes many great players. Unfortunately, he was edged out by his own teammates, Billy Hamilton and Sam Thompson, who led the league with .380 and 370 averages, respectively. Imagine being so good and still coming in third in your own locker room. But Delahanty's success didn't stop there. It only soared higher. Between 1894 and 1896, he posted some jaw-dropping numbers that fans still remember today. In 1894, he hit an incredible .407, with 4 home runs and 131 RBIs. But surprisingly, even that stellar average wasn't enough to snag him the batting title. Hugh Duffy stole it away with an astonishing .440 average. Just think about that. Delahanty hit over 400 and didn't win the title. The real magic that year, however, was the outfield he was a part of. Delahanty, along with Thompson, Hamilton, and Tuck Turner, formed a powerhouse trio with all 4 players batting over 400. Baseball historian Bill James later called it the greatest outfield of the 19th century. It's hard to overstate how remarkable that was. Imagine pitchers having to face that lineup. Talk about nightmares. Delahanty finally clinched his first batting title in 1899, hitting .410 with 9 home runs and 137 RBIs. He became the first player in Major League history to hit over 400 3 times, which is a record that still stands. That year, he made history again, achieving the unique distinction of having a game with 4 home runs and another with 4 doubles. One game that really stands out was on July 13, 1896, when he hit 4 home runs in a single game, 2 out of the park and 2 inside the park. But here's the kicker. Despite his incredible performance, the Phillies still lost that game 9-8. Delahanty became the first player ever to hit 4 home runs and still be on the losing side. Can you imagine the frustration? It's like giving the performance of a lifetime and still coming up short. 3 years later, he also set another record by hitting 4 doubles in a single game, yet another feat that has yet to be matched in baseball history. His talent was undeniable, and in 1899, he even strung together 10 consecutive hits, showcasing his consistent power and skill. After Delahanty made the switch to the New American League in 1902, he joined the Washington Senators and had a fantastic season, hitting an impressive .376. This was a pivotal moment for him, as he recognized that his time in baseball was limited. In an interview following the 1902 season, Delahanty spoke candidly about his situation. He said, "I know I am getting along in years and won't be able to last much longer in first-class baseball. Therefore, I am going to get all the money there is in sight. Last year, I was playing with the Phillies for $3,000, but this season, the Washington club gave me $4,000. If I can get $5,000, no one can blame me for taking it." His practical mindset highlighted a reality many players faced at that time, the fleeting nature of athletic careers. Delahanty knew he needed to secure his financial future while he could. In 1903, he returned to the Senators for another season, where he continued to showcase his talent. In just 42 games, he was hitting .333 with 1 home run and 21 RBIs. It was clear he still had plenty of skill left on the field, and fans were excited to see what he could do next. Over an impressive 16-season career with teams like the Philadelphia Phillies, Cleveland Indians, and Washington Senators, Ed Delahanty truly left his mark on baseball history. His lifetime batting average of .346 ranks him 5th all-time in Major League history. Isn't that something? Just think about the legends ahead of him. Guys like Ty Cobb at .366, Rogers Hornsby at .358, Joe Jackson at .356, and Lefty O'Doul at .349. Delahanty's stats are remarkable, too. He hit 101 home runs and drove in an impressive 1,464 RBIs. Delahanty was no stranger to leading the league either. He topped the charts in slugging percentage and runs batted in 3 times each. Can you imagine how intimidating it must have been for pitchers facing him? And get this, he hit over 400 not once, not twice, but 3 times. Those years were 1894, 1895, and 1899. That's an elite group to be part of. In fact, only one other player, Rogers Hornsby, has matched that feat in National League history when he hit 400 in 1922 and again in 1924, 1925. Beyond the impressive numbers, Delahanty's legacy really extends into popular culture and history. For example, in 2008, the band The Baseball Project honored him with a song titled "The Death of Big Ed Delahanty" on their album Volume 1, Frozen Ropes and Dying Quails. This punk-influenced ballad pays tribute not just to his life, but also to the tragic circumstances surrounding his end. It's fascinating how music can keep stories alive, isn't it? In 1940, 1945, he was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame, a fitting tribute to his remarkable career. And here's a fun fact. He's part of the most prominent group of siblings ever to play in the major leagues. His brothers, Frank, Jim, Joe, and Tom, each made their mark in the sport too. Together, they created a remarkable chapter in baseball history, further solidifying Ed Delahanty's place among the legends of the game. Well, that brings us to the end of the video. Make sure to subscribe to Baseball Icon so that you never miss an update.